Okay, grounding and bonding. I don't think we have time on that. Fire alarm systems. You may or may not need a fire alarm system for a building. Commonly, commercial buildings or otherwise institutional buildings do install them, and it's mostly for the sake of their expensive buildings. And but then there's also ADA considerations and just, but you may not have to have a fire alarm system. Again, you have to go to the building code to find all of these aspects. And like, for instance, for a high rise, what would you guess? You definitely have to have one. And actually there's further requirements. So, but for a fire alarm system, depending on where the level of egress is and number of people, and this is where the architect shined to make sure to help us, or the code consultants. And the occupancy, say for instance, if it was a institutional occupancy, like a prison or a healthcare facility, these all make a difference. And communication low voltage systems. So it used to be, say for instance, architects designed everything for a building, but eventually electrical engineers were needed. And now there's entire groups of consulting firms dedicated to consulting to low voltage systems. And one of them would be just the technology room itself. So laying those out is important for the cable links, as well as just the sizing of the room. For there's heat loss and there's redundancies in UPS power. So there's quite a few considerations. Dixie would be so an RCDD, and rather than a PE would be the more dedicated person to do this, but commonly PEs are leaned on to make sure these rooms are fitted with what they need, and what's in the rack is where the other teams will be shine. Here's a list of, I'm starting to stop for the question parts just because I know I'm going to get to the QA at the end here. This is a list of other low voltage systems that exist in buildings and that we're commonly interfacing and being responsible for providing. So, special consultants are commonly needed on these. Further detailed topics that an engineer one would just like to have a exposure to: gas detection, such as in a parking garage. It may be a requirement or a betterment. Lightning protection, NFPA 780 is one example of a standard for lightning protection. The LPI Institute, these are owners that have buildings that are, if you go do the assessments, usually it says if you have some important stuff in there, yeah, you probably want a lightning protection, but it's not something that's required. But if you do have it and there are requirements, bonding it to the grounding system. Bus differentials would be such as inside of a switchboard or switch gear within equipment, trying to make sure there aren't faults with inside of equipment. Fire rated cable is, like for fire pump, could be a requirement. And the way that's all installed, vertical, horizontal, and the listings is all part of considerations that